Are you going to make use of Nigel Farage's political alignment with Putin when he said that Europe had blood on its hands as Nigel Farage, as Europe provoked him into Putin into saying what he said, and that Ukrainians had died as a result of their desire for democracy and closer relations with the EU?
Well, look, it came right at the end of the debate, so we couldn't debate it further. But I wasn't surprised that Nigel Farage doesn't agree with me. I was extraordinarily surprised, if not shocked, that he agrees with Vladimir Putin. And to somehow suggest that because of Nigel Farage's loathing of the European Union, that is the reason why Ukrainian protesters sought to reclaim their own freedom and their own country on the streets of Kiev. I just think it's really insulting to those people who in Kiev were simply standing up for values that we should share and support of democracy, of autonomy, of them being able to determine their own fate.
They were simply standing up to values we should share and support of democracy, autonomy, for them to determine their own fate. Well, isn't that the whole point, Clegg? We cannot do what you suggested there in the UK because of the European Union.
And for Nigel Farage to side with Vladimir Putin, well, he'll have to explain why he did that. I was really, I was astounded he did so.
I know, absolutely awful. And, to think that we should have somebody like him stand on political stages with the likes of you and Ed Miliband and David Cameron, I certainly would not like to see him stand on political forums and debates.
Farage did not align himself with Putin. What a ridiculous thing to suggest. And to say you only want to see Clegg, Spittyband and Cameron debate anything, Jesus, haven't we had enough of being robbed by these guys? Haven't we had enough establishment men in power? Haven't we had enough corporate welfare? Haven't we had enough austerity? Haven't we had enough corruption? You only want to see the leaders of the main three parties debate anything. Kim, whoever you are, you sound like a lovely woman, completely insane, but lovely. No doubt you're a lonely spinster that I wouldn't trust with my cat, and I don't like my cat. Kim, you have shown yourself to be ignorant of what has been going on in Ukraine, but I'll come back to this later. Let's continue with this video.
All right, Kim, thank you. Briefly and lastly on this, Deputy Prime Minister, was it naivety then or stupidity from Mr Farage with that remark last night?
It was neither, Fatty Ferrari. It was the truth. You obviously don't know what took place in Ukraine either. So that's Clegg, Kim, whoever she is, and Ferrari. You have no idea what actually took place in the Ukraine. How can you be so ill-informed about geopolitics and host some kind of national show? This is unbelievable. People really are stupid.
You'll need to ask him, and no doubt it'll come up in the debate next week. But my view is that it shows quite how extreme people can be, like Nigel Farage, when their loathing of the European Union becomes so all-consuming that they even end up siding with Vladimir Putin in order to make their point. And to suggest that somehow it's the European Union's fault that the Ukrainian people rose up, as many did on the streets of Kiev, against their government, seeking to claim greater democracy, greater freedom, I just think is such a perverse way of looking at the thing.
Clegg is really doing his best to discredit Farage here, and he's loving it because Clegg knows that the general public are simply as dull as dishwater about politics. They believe what they're told by the man on the telly, end of story. So what exactly did happen in Ukraine? Well, the US and the EU funded the neo-Nazis that overthrew that democratically elected government. And the new government that was put in place was the ones shooting its own people in order to get worldwide sympathy.
And civil society. And second, what was quite disturbing, the same Olga told that, well, all the evidence shows that people who were killed by snipers from both sides, among policemen and people from the streets, that they were the same snipers killing people from both sides.
Well, that's, yeah.
So that, and then she also showed me some photos. She said that as medical doctor, she can, say that it is the same handwriting, the same type of bullets, and it's really disturbing that now the new coalition, that they don't want to investigate what exactly happened, so that there is now stronger and stronger understanding that behind snipers, it was not Yanukovych, but it was somebody from the new coalition.
There's your blood, Clegg. There's the involvement of the EU, funding neo-Nazis to kill their own supporters. Okay? Have a look. If you had half a brain, you'd be able to find this out for yourself. I'm embarrassed for you that you don't know this. The EU and Ukraine have recently signed a pact. This pact, signed in Brussels, declares that the Ukrainian government must embark swiftly on an ambitious program of structural reforms and submit to an agreement with the International Monetary Fund. The plans being drawn up are based on the Greek model. Do you remember what happened in Greece? Savage cuts enforced by the IMF and the EU that produced mass unemployment and poverty. So, the EU and the bankers are about to take down another country, and the people of Ukraine have been done by the EU, America and the IMF. The bankers have claimed yet another country, and Clegg knows what's going on. He's not stupid, despite looking it, despite acting it, despite everything about him being stupid. He knows this is going on. That's why he's using his Farage supports Putin bullshit to get his point across, because he knows people are mindless, people don't think, they follow the man on the telly, pure and simple. I hope next week that Farage does bring up the Ukraine situation, because he could make Clegg look absolutely stupid. Because I think Mr. Clegg has forgotten that the peasants can still read, and not believing a word a politician says tends to point people in the direction politicians don't want them to look. We know what Clegg's all about, hiding and running when asked a decent question.
Nick, 4 years ago I asked you what were you going to do about institutional paedophile operating in this country now. Your reply to me, Nick, was, I don't know what you mean by institutional paedophile rings. Do you understand what I was talking about 4 years ago now, Nick, and stay in my eyes?
Talking about taxes, thanks very much.
Oh, thank you.
He's a yes man through and through, and any thinking man can see through and through him. To have a deputy prime minister that is so ill-informed on world events is truly worrying if he genuinely has no idea what is going on. No wonder this muppet is polling in single figures. A vote for him is surely a vote for insanity.